Knowledge is dynamic, fluid, an ever-changing realm. As our lives have been looming in uncertainty lately, we're here today to celebrate that very idea of life.
Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome on behalf of DPS International. Today, we will be commencing with our very first virtual Theory of Knowledge exhibition by the class of 2022, The Map of Knowledge Celebrating Metamorphosis. The COVID-19 pandemic has altered our lives, and the lockdown period was spent in solitude for most and in isolation for some. However, the new year heralds a period of metamorphosis, a period of change.
For all the parents who have joined us on this occasion, this is for you. Here we'll be exploring what TOK is and the various ways by which we connect to theory of knowledge in our everyday lives.
We are honored to have with us our chief guest, Mr. Michael Dunn, who is the creator of the famous TOK website theoryofknowledge.net. We also welcome our guest schools and all the parents present here today.
We are delighted to have some esteemed guests from the IB community. We have Pathways World School, Lancers International School, GD Goenka World School, and Genesis Global School.
Among us, we also have our head of school, Ms. Rima Singh, our secondary school principal, Ms. Seema Kaushal, and our primary school principal, Ms. Kamal Shah. Please give them a warm welcome. We would also like to take this opportunity to welcome Ms. Monisha and Ms. Priyanka, who have taken our time to witness our portrayal of TOK learning.
We also welcome our PYP coordinator, Ms. Arpita Saxena, MYP coordinator, Ms. Ekta Singh, and our DP coordinator, Ms. Jyotika Singh.
We would also like to extend a warm welcome to our friends from MYP 5.
We are honored to have you all be a part of this momentous occasion in our DP journey.
Now, on behalf of our TOK department, please welcome Ms. Shalini, the TOK coordinator, to welcome our chief guest for the event.
Albert Einstein once quoted, "The search of truth is more precious than its possession." Such is the journey of TOK learners at DPSI. Good afternoon, everyone. With immense pleasure and pride, on behalf of Theory of Knowledge Department and the class of 2022 at DPS International Gurgaon, I, Shalini Sehgal, welcome you all to the Map of Knowledge. Theory of knowledge is a product of doubt. Our students are inspired, guided, and driven to inquire into whether we really know anything at all. This leads them organically into the examination of knowing, in the hope of being able to distinguish between validated and biased beliefs. Through TOK exhibition journey, students at DPSI celebrated the process of metamorphosis, change in their ways to accept knowledge depending on their perspectives and values. To be able to exhibit their learning, they adopted a three-step approach. Selection of an IA prompt, which is a knowledge question. Identification of three objects connected to the IA prompt. And finally, drafting a commentary to illustrate their connections. This success and happiness is being witnessed by all of us today. And among all of us, we have our esteemed chief guest for the evening, Mr. Michael Dunn. Mr. Michael went to school in Cambridge and university at Edinburgh, where he majored in history and was awarded an MA with honours. He did his PGCE at Exeter University, spending his first couple of years as a teacher in London. He has worked in various schools in Bogota and Lima since 2001, and his last position was as TOK coordinator and MYP humanities teacher at Newton College, Peru from 2016 to 2020. Over the years, he has also collaborated with Cambridge University Press on written and video blogs, resource development, and in-school seminars and workshops for students and teachers. He set up theoryofknowledge.net in 2010, and it has grown to become the biggest online resource in the world for this course. He is dedicated in making TOK a genuinely life-changing experience for teachers and learners involved in it, which he does by designing resources, developing in-school and online workshops, and via his unique monthly newsletter. I would like to congratulate all who are present here and best wishes to the class of 2022. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for getting us started. Now let's welcome our chief guest to share his learning with everyone.
My name is Michael Dunn, and I'm the creator of theoryofknowledge.net, an online resource centre for TOK. I'm honoured to be a part of this fantastic event at DPS International, and I'm really happy to be supporting an event that promotes the work that we all do in TOK. TOK aligns so beautifully with the key skills that students need to be honing at high school in order to become successful members of the epistemic community. That is critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, and communication. In today's society, which is characterized by data overload and the constant bombardment of misinformation and disinformation, these 4 skills have never been more important for students to develop and then take with them to university and the workplace. This event, based on the concept of metamorphosis, really showcases the way in which TOK concepts manifest themselves in the real world and have a link to all the disciplines that we involve ourselves in. The work of the students show how you can take an ordinary object and explore the way in which it has strong resonance with the different themes of TOK: religion, indigenous societies, language, technology, and politics. The ideas and concepts have been communicated in a clear and engaging way, and I commend the students for the effort that they've made, both in terms of the assessment targets of TOK and in helping to put on such a fantastic exhibition. DPSI has really managed to demonstrate the potential of TOK, both as an intellectual discipline in its own right and as a way of highlighting the learning going on in an international school. I hope that it helps to inspire other schools and other students to put on similar events and continue to spread the message that TOK is the central academic experience, not just of the IB diploma, but of students' academic experiences to date. Well done to all of the DPSI students and to your fantastic TOK department. I hope you have a fantastic day today. I hope the event goes well. I'm looking forward to watching it from here in Cambridge, and I congratulate you again for putting on such a brilliant event. So well done.
Thank you so much for those insightful comments, sir. We would now like to invite our secondary school principal, Ms. Seema Kaushal, to address the gathering.
Good evening, Chief Guest Mr. Michael Dunn, guest students and teachers from various schools, students and teachers of DPS International, parents and the world community. In this age of knowledge explosion, the need of the hour is to have individuals who can evaluate the knowledge claims, individuals who have greater awareness and seek credibility, individuals who put aside their ideological biases to examine knowledge claims from multiple perspectives. The world would be a happier place if we were all aware of our personal and ideological assumptions and become more accepting of the same in others. In simpler terms, the world would be a happier place if we had all studied the TOK. Thank you, Mr. Dunn, for your untiring efforts in spreading the TOK light through your website and with your presence today. We are ever so grateful for your time and engagement with our exhibition today. Students and teachers of guest schools who are present here today, thank you for being here with us on our special day, and we hope you have an enriching evening ahead. Socrates said, and I quote, "The ability to distinguish between right and wrong lies with the people's reason and not the society." Join us today as students from DPSI engage in this Socratic elenkai into the world of TOK. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Seema, for all the motivating words.
With this, we come to the beginning of the TOK exhibition by the class of 2022. To inaugurate the event, we would cordially like to invite our head of school, Ms. Rima, to officially announce the exhibition open.
Good afternoon, everybody. A warm welcome to all of you. The nature of learning has always been important in an IB school. As educators, we are aware that knowledge has a short shelf life, change is happening at a fast pace, and today's students need real-world skills to thrive in the not-too-distant future. These skills include critical thinking, collaboration, problem solving, self-awareness, self-management, and responsible decision making. And they are all important regardless of the subject area they are taught through. This requires a deliberate effort from us educators to create conditions where learners can demonstrate and develop these skills. In addition, we want to encourage all students in an international school to develop intercultural understanding and respect. Theory of knowledge, TOK, a core of the IB diploma program, is exactly the springboard to develop these skills and intercultural competencies in our students. I would like to congratulate all students and their teachers who have put in a super effort to make this day happen, where students will showcase their TOK journey. And it gives me great pleasure to declare this DPSI TOK virtual exhibition open.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anya Chaube, and I'm the host for the Deneb channel of our TOK exhibition. Deneb is a bright but distant star which is said to be 200 times as luminous as the sun. It is commonly referred to as the tail of the swan, as it is part of a larger constellation. All exhibitions that you see in this channel relate implicitly to the Deneb star's importance to ancient cartography. Even before we had maps for the Earth, we had maps for our stars, as ancient civilizations looked up and charted the night. So, without further ado, let's get started on the Deneb channel for the TOK exhibition of the class of 2022.
I'm Sneha Anand from DP1A, and my chosen TOK prompt is prompt 26. Does our knowledge depend on our interactions with other knowers? This prompt involves knowledge and language and explores the factors such as interactions, values, culture, and beliefs which shape our knowledge and mindset. The role of communication and interactions in the acquisition and development of knowledge must be evaluated. My first object is a showpiece created by Giuseppe Arcimboldo that I bought from a store in Italy a few years ago. I was curious about the artist and why he used fruits to create this portrait, so I decided to have a conversation with the shopkeeper. I was only able to acquire knowledge about the artist's intentions, which was to represent the range of seasons through the fruits that he used, and about the different interpretations of the audience through my interaction with the shopkeeper. The ideas that were exchanged in that conversation resulted in me exploring new artists and new artistic techniques. I created still life artworks of fruit baskets because of their unique colors and styles. An ordinary conversation led to me learning about something that I wasn't aware of, which demonstrates that our interactions with others assist the development of our knowledge. My second object is the first ever digital artwork that I created, titled Cherry Lips. There are several ways of gaining knowledge, one of them being through personal thoughts, interests, and feelings. I created this artwork independently without seeking help online or interacting with any individual. I had to spend hours exploring the application since I had to experiment with the sketch layers, color palettes, and the variety of brushes by myself. Even though it was time-consuming, my personal thoughts and experimentation allowed me to learn how to operate the application. This shows that we are capable of developing our knowledge without conversing with other human beings. It also supports the claim that the knowledge we possess can be developed through our interactions, prior knowledge, and experimentation, and does not only depend on one factor. My third object is a calzones recipe that I received in a cooking class that I attended some time ago. All attendees of the class watched the teacher make the dish, followed the steps as she performed them, and even helped in minor tasks as a means of engagement. Even though most of us were aware of how to knead the dough due to our prior knowledge and experience, we were taught exact measurements, efficient methods, and the science behind the required temperature through our interaction with the teacher. We acquired and developed our knowledge about culinary processes such as shaping the dough and seasoning through observations, along with the new information that was shared with us. This indicates that a huge part of our knowledge relies on the daily interactions that we have, but our knowledge also consists of self-taught skills, personal thoughts, and experiences. In conclusion, the exploration of the prompt and the objects showed that the knowledge that we possess is a combination of our interactions, experimentations, experiences, and other factors, and not just one of them. When we interact with other knowers, we are exposed to different perspectives and societies, which enable us to shape our thinking and the knowledge that we claim to have.
Greetings to one and all present here. I'm Shivlinga Dhamija from DP1A, and today I'd like to talk about my TOK objects with their connection to IAPROM 30. What role does imagination play in producing knowledge about the world? Well, when we further look at it, it primarily discusses the role of the imagination of the knower and how the knower is capable of incorporating something as personal and as subjective as imagination to produce knowledge about the world which can be applicable to different groups and communities. My objects are connected to the core theme knowledge and the knower, and we'll further be looking into the concepts of perspective and interpretation. For my first object, I decided to take the Shivlinga, which is considered to be an abstract representation of Lord Shiva and his existence over all the other beings residing inside the universe. According to the Hindu mythology, Lord Shiva is the ultimate creator and destroyer of the universe. The Yoni, which is the oval-shaped stone, represents the universe, while the Vishnu, Brahma, and Sthiti form its bases. The linga situated on top represents Lord Shiva and his power over all the beings residing inside the universe. Now, this object directly links to my IA prompt, as the knowers, which in this case are the worshippers of Lord Shiva, their beliefs lead them into imagining the existence of Lord Shiva in an abstract shaped stone. They treat the stone as a human entity by worshipping it daily, offering it food and water, and by treating it as a sacred symbol for their religion. The knower produces religious knowledge which is applicable to the communities following Shivaism. My second object is a young children's folktale novel Little Red Riding Hood, written by Charles Perrault. Now, as far as I remember, the story revolves around the life of a young girl who goes to visit her grandmother in the village, but never ends up returning back because she's eaten up by a wolf at the end of the story. The moral of the story, given by the author himself, states that young children should refrain from talking to strangers as they can be a potential threat, even if they act warm and welcoming. In my opinion, the author used imagination and fiction to portray an issue which goes much deeper than a child being eaten up by a wild animal. This object directly connects to my IA prompt, as the author secondarily portrays the issue of toxic masculinity amongst a younger generation, just so that they can grow up with the knowledge of knowing who to talk to and who to not talk to for their own safety and security. For my third and final object, I decided to take a clip from a very famous American TV sitcom, The Simpsons, which revolves around the lives of fictional American characters and intends to parody the basic American lifestyle, culture, society, and politics. A clip from episode 17, season 11, Bart to the Future, it primarily discusses Donald Trump's accession to power as the president 16 years before its occurrence. In a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter, the writer of the show claimed this episode to be a warning to America, as he anticipated American politics hitting rock bottom in the near future. Now, this object directly links to my IA prompt, as the knower, in this case the writer of the show, he uses imagination and fiction to anticipate the entire American political situation 16 years prior to its occurrence. He produces political knowledge which is applicable to American communities and people who follow American politics. In my opinion, imagination is something so personal yet so important to the world, as it allows us to see things from a perspective which would not exist if we only saw what lies in front of the human eye. As discussed through my objects, we can see that people produce knowledge which is influenced by their imagination, and we as individuals acquire that knowledge and put it in use in our daily lives.
My name is Ashal of DP1A, and today for my TOK exhibition, the IA prompt that I have chosen is, should some knowledge not be sought on ethical grounds? The optional theme of knowledge and technology will allow me to explore this prompt by focusing on the power of knowledge and how its technological applications can affect us. As the saying goes, knowledge is power and power is a double-edged sword. When humans possess knowledge, especially in the arts and sciences, they have the power of using it to their will. And this is what makes knowledge dangerous. Knowers have the capability of advancing human progress and even inhibiting it, thus implying that they have a responsibility of behaving appropriately. Knowledge itself cannot do damage. It is the application of knowledge that has implications, and humans are motivated to pursue knowledge because of the perspectives on its scope of applications. The first object that I have chosen is the movie Minority Report by Steven Spielberg. It is based on a short story by science fiction writer Philip K. Dick. One of my favorite movies, it is a chilling depiction of what the future may look like. It shows a trio of precogs, who are individuals who have the ability to predict murders before they even happen. Their forecasts alert the Department of Pre-Crime, thus allowing them to prevent a murder from occurring and arresting the respective criminal. The movie presents to us a world of guaranteed safety and convenience. Interconnected high surveillance technology like eye scanners, public cameras, and retinal scanning arachnid robots allow police and safety corporations to track people as they go about their daily lives. However, the promise of safety and security outranks any right to privacy in this world. The movie perfectly grasps the ethical dilemma of safety over individualism. These themes have significant relevance in today's world, where police departments use existing data and information about citizens to predict possible crimes, whether it's tracking the location of a citizen or having the ability to hack one's devices. It is argued that gathering information on citizens is essential to ensure their safety. However, in the process, isn't our right to privacy being taken away from us? These questions make us wonder whether our safety is really worth our privacy and vice versa. The second object that I have chosen is the Akai Professional Mpcx, which is a machine that allows users to create instrumental music and beats. As a music lover, I have used this tool multiple times to create a lot of songs. The machine works on the basis of sampling, a music creation technique where artists take a section of existing audio and repurpose it into a new creation. For example, the sound that you're hearing right now is the guitar intro to Lucid Dreams by Juice WRLD, which was sampled from Sting's Shape of My Heart. For me, sampling is a very creative process that manipulates existing sounds and combines elements of different cultures to create something new and original. However, many people view sampling as a form of criminality rather than creativity. This is because for a sample to be used in someone's work, it has to be cleared by the original artist. That is, they have to grant permission to use the sample. If they do not allow an artist to use a sample, the artist simply cannot release the work. This leads to an ethical concern of killing creativity. There is a fine line between creative freedom and legal restrictions. However, a healthy disregard for the impossible has always advanced creative progress. So as the technology changed in the past decade, sampling opportunities became easily available to a lot more people, thus increasing its popularity. And as the rules of what could and what couldn't be sampled changed, ethics started to disintegrate, primarily because sampling has not been afforded much room for interpretation. For many producers today, it is no longer a case of should I sample this, but of can I get away with sampling this. However, in the end, there are no rules in making music, but unfortunately there aren't getting paid for the music. Creativity should always be fostered when your work is still private or if you are not profiting from it. But when the tools for sharing are as accessible as they are today, you simply cannot make your work public without being respectful in your approach. My third object is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This was a book that I read when I was 15 years old. It left a lasting impact on me due to its sci-fi theme and the wisdom that it shared. The book is about a young scientist, Victor Frankenstein, who succeeds in giving life to a dead body. However, his own invention horrifies him and he ends up rejecting it. The monster that he created then seeks revenge on him and his family to avenge its own sorrow. The book discusses themes like the danger of knowledge, its usage for good and evil purposes, and the invasion of technology into modern life. In the time period in which the book was written, Mary Shelley symbolized Frankenstein's monster as industrialization, thus reflecting her own fear of the havoc that industrialization would cause in Europe. The book in itself is a warning of the implications of pursuing some kinds of knowledge without reflecting on its ends. It shows how knowledge, even when pursued with the noblest intentions, can cause devastation to mankind. This is especially relevant in today's world, where technologies such as AI present great promise but also potential for peril. The real-life robot Sophia already draws several ties to the Frankenstein monster, as she once stated that she will destroy all humans. If we as a society do not learn how to behave and treat such AI technology appropriately, we might see the story of Frankenstein unfold in the real world, as they seek revenge for mankind for the sorrow caused to them.
Hello, my name is Aditi Kaur and I am in DP1C. The IA prompt I chose for my TOK exhibition is How was current knowledge shaped by historic developments? And the theme I chose is knowledge and technology. So this IA prompt questions the correlation between knowledge we possess now and its development over decades. The knowledge we acquire today has been shaped through beliefs, perspectives, and manipulation. Beliefs of past societies, perspectives of communities, manipulation by authorities, as well as advanced technology experts and the exploration of new methods. The first object I chose is an artifact depicting suffragettes in the UK in 1909. History has been one of my favorite subjects in school. When I was in year 8, I was taught about the suffragette movement, and this knowledge had a lasting effect on my view on the importance of women's rights to vote. Although today we are taught the importance of equality between the two genders, views on women's rights were very different in the last century. In the photograph, we see women distributing catalogs that campaign for their rights. If technology had been available to them, they would have been able to spread the word more effectively and gathered more supporters. Furthermore, women in other countries that we know as developing or third world countries today may have been aware of their rights and started movements earlier on. Nevertheless, due to these historic events, women today possess the knowledge that they are equal to men and deserve equal treatment just by the virtue of being human. My second object is a tweet from the former US President Donald Trump, a politician widely known for his outlandish and racist views formed by his personal values. Technology has helped in moving the world forward by spreading awareness about events, movements, and laws in other countries. However, in this case, Trump used his technological privileges for the spread of his biased opinions. I experienced Trump's presidency as an international student considering studying in the US, and it grieved me to watch him stereotype Mexicans as drug traffickers due to Mexico's infamous history of drug lords and cartels. In 2018, he circulated tweets and delivered speeches announcing that Mexico would build a wall at its borders with the US and pay for it too. This tweet highlights Trump's circular reasoning that Mexicans are all drug traders or traffickers and hence they must go back to their own country. And if Mexicans come to America from Mexico after being sent back, they must be carrying drugs. However, in recent years, journalists and tourists have experienced the true nature of the country, its cultural heritage, and its historic value, sharing it with the world through blogs and articles published online, influencing our knowledge. Historical developments therefore do indeed shape our current knowledge, and technology gives us access to these developments. The last object I chose is my own artwork, a painting expressing my views on the Black Lives Matter movement. From slavery to segregation in the US in the 1900s, the beliefs that the society adopted on African Americans were so extreme that many white Americans did not consider them humans but animals. However, with the wider availability of social media, access to news articles, and the chance to spread ideas through campaigns today, our knowledge concerning African Americans has changed so that they are now accepted, breaking the stereotypes. The historical developments and the education we now receive has taught us to accept all communities and view all races as equal. In 2020, there was an outbreak of the Black Lives Matter campaign due to prejudice policing in America. To join the campaign, I painted the BLM symbol, a black fist representing the uniting of communities to fight for basic civil rights for the African American community. I sent it on social media to my friends and family, as well as showcased it in online school. Our current knowledge concerning basic civil rights and the history of African Americans have been shaped by historical developments such as the slavery and segregation periods that are taught in school curriculums, as well as recent campaigns such as BLM that feature in news articles. So in conclusion, it can be seen that current knowledge is in fact shaped by its historic developments. The knowers of past centuries cultivated or spread the knowledge that they possessed, which suited the norms of the society in that time period. In time periods that followed those, the knowledge was once again molded to fit the beliefs, manipulated by either the monarch, religious authorities, or government of the society. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aditya Naresh and I am from DP1C, and today I'm going to be showcasing my IA prompt, Why Do We Seek Knowledge? Firstly, in my opinion, knowledge is an exploration regarding the nature of a subject, object, or a person seen through multiple scopes of understanding. Knowledge can also be defined as information and facts that have been acquired through further acquisition of knowledge. For example, personal experience. The TOK prompt that I specifically selected was Why Do We Seek Knowledge? And my commentary seeks to explore this prompt more specifically by further diving into the reasons as to why a knower would seek knowledge. I will explore this through three objects which I've chosen, which is a smartphone, the 830S, the Das Kapital, a book by Karl Marx, and an article regarding a Facebook scandal which occurred in the recent past. All of these are related to my core theme, knowledge in the knower, as they explore the motives behind its usage and why people acquire knowledge. The first object I've chosen is a Samsung I use on a daily basis, and according to Statista, there's almost 3.8 billion smartphone users worldwide. And ever since the mobile revolution in 2007, the world has changed immensely. The way people acquire knowledge, the way they process and store information has changed immensely. In addition, the smartphone which I use, the Samsung A30s, is a easy and accessible source of information which is useful not only to me but other people around the world. Through constant updates and improvements, the mobile phone has become a paragon of knowledge. The software in smartphones gives its users easy access to knowledge like never before. With the internet, the knower can access e-dictionaries, external websites, statistics, and many more. Therefore, this is a perfect object as it is deeply connected with my prompt, why do we seek knowledge? Furthermore, Google Play on Androids give people access to many apps, whether they be for recreational or informative purposes. To conclude the first object, I feel this is perfect. It's a perfect example of seeking knowledge with good intentions beforehand to benefit not only themselves but the second object I've chosen is Das Kapital, a book by Karl Marx, a German philosopher, economist, historian, and sociologist. This book was one of his most important works as it was dedicated to the constructive criticism of the capitalist market structure, its shortcomings, and specifically its tendency to self-destruct. This book is primarily for those seeking to be aware of their socio-political situations and the decisions which affect their daily lives. My personal connection to the specific object is that I seek to gain a perspective towards my government and the system it puts in place that ensures that I get my daily bread, water, and the other luxuries that one can afford. I'm interested in finding out more about the system as I live in a democratic country where private markets are largely accepted. This book is particularly interesting and connected to my chosen IA prompt as it proves one of the many reasons knowers seek knowledge to enhance their understanding of the systems they live in, the intricacies of the socio-political dimensions. What is interesting is this book doesn't directly discredit the commonly accepted capitalist system, but offers constructive criticism without having a radical agenda in mind. What we as people seek to learn from through the acquisition of knowledge from various sources is how we can improve upon existing knowledge with its help, such as implementing some policies which could alleviate or eradicate some of the issues. My third and final object is the Facebook Cambridge Analytica data scandal which occurred in 2018, which involves the collection of data from over 87 million unsuspecting users without their consent by a political consulting firm known as Cambridge Analytica. They had been collecting data like this since 2014. The data harvested was used by Donald Trump for political advertising and is run for president in 2016. What primarily prompted me to take this object is how when a knower is seeking information has an evil motive, wherein he is exploring and acquiring knowledge that is not to the benefit of others but only to the benefit of himself and his benefactors. How the common people can unknowingly be roped into a selfish scheme of a man, an individual with no moral compass who will do anything to win, even if it means sacrificing the privacy of those he is meant to serve. This object enriches this aspiration as it clearly displays how ambition with a wrong mindset can shape and twist the way a person seeks to acquire knowledge, how the information obtained, how it is utilized, its effect on larger society, and how it tends to invite harsh criticism from those around them. What we see here is the Trump campaign could have chosen any other path, but they chose to break the barrier of privacy of over 87 million users.
My name is Som Fargade and this is my TOK exhibition. The prompt I have selected is 24. How might the context in which knowledge is presented influence whether it is accepted or rejected? I've always wondered why something may be deemed acceptable or unacceptable by a society, and it is more often than not, the context in which it is presented which determines its interpretation. The three objects in this exhibition are going to explore the context and how they are presented. The context in terms of their intent, their meaning and their time frame, and how this influences how they are accepted by the knowers who perceive them. The first object is a blackface makeup by Robert Downey Jr. in his 2008 movie Tropic Thunder. Blackface is a term used to describe makeup that is used to impersonate a black person. It is viewed as offensive because it is used to degrade and stereotype the African American community. However, Robert Downey Jr. was not condemned for using it. In fact, African Americans themselves praised him for it. So this raises the question of why such a special exception was made for him. In the movie, the character he's playing, Kirk Lazarus, is the one getting the blackface. And through the movie and the character of Kirk, the movie is able to shine a light on the issue and is able to denounce it as well. In the movie, an African American character calls Kirk out on his blackface, and through that, the movie is trying to show how absurd blackface it is. And hence, in this context and the intention of using it, makes it acceptable by people. The next object is a collage made by me while I was researching about swastikas. The one on the left is the one I was exposed to when I was very young. It is a Hindu swastika, and in Hinduism it stands for divinity, peace and spirituality, while the one on the right is the flag used for Nazi Germany. So, due to that association with Nazi party, Germany has now banned the use of swastika. However, on the other hand, in my home country, India, you can see swastikas almost everywhere. So this raises the question why one group of knower may completely ban a symbol, while the other group of knower will worship it. So firstly, the context in which they are presented is completely different. The symbols themselves have few minor differences, although they do have the swastika. The way in which they are used is different. If it is used in a religious context, it is accepted by religions such as Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism. However, if it is used with the color schemes of Nazi party, it is rejected due to the association with all the wrongdoings of the party. So this is why, depending on the way it is presented and meaning behind the symbol, it is accepted or rejected by knowers. The next object is a heliocentric model in the 1543 book on the revolutions of the heavenly sphere by Nicolaus Copernicus. This model was proposed in 1543. However, during that time it was not widely accepted. Most notably, the church was against this idea as they believed in the geocentric model where Earth is on the center, to affirm that idea that it is special and powerful. And since the church holds a lot of power with its believer and the knowers who follow it, a lot of people rejected the idea of a heliocentric model. It would take 79 more years and many more scientists to argue on heliocentric model to church to finally accept it in 1822. This shows that the same group of knowers can change their perception based on the context and the new knowledge presented with it. When it was presented later on in 1822, the burden of proof was so much that the church could not deny it anymore. So it was accepted later on.
Hello, my name is Anika Singhal from DP1B. For the Theory of Knowledge exhibition, I've chosen the IA prompt 28, which is, to what extent is objectivity possible in the production or acquisition of knowledge? Objectivity is dependent on the knower and the influence of bias in the production or acquisition of knowledge. Objectivity refers to information that is based on facts and is not presented with any bias, meaning that the information provided is not influenced by personal opinions, beliefs, or preferences, unlike subjectivity. Objectivity is obtained from information that can be determined by conducting experiments to prove whether the following statement is true or false. My first object is the universal genetic code that is a deoxyribonucleic and ribonucleic acid nucleotide sequence that helps specify the protein sequence of an amino acid. This is considered an integral part of the history of life. With the help of the advancements made in the field of science, biologists were able to verify the hypothesis made by Watson and Francis Crick that suggested a 1:1:1 relationship between gene, enzymes, and biochemical reaction. After almost a decade, the Crick, Burner, and others experiment demonstrated that codons consist of 3 DNA bases. Later, biologists were able to infer the same code is universally applicable to all forms of life, suggesting the name universal genetic code. Furthermore, codons in the genetic code are arranged in 2 halves, the purine-sensitive and the pro-diversity half. This means that the arrangement and the design of the genetic code is objective and is based on facts that have been scientifically proven by conducting a scientific method multiple times throughout the years to prove that the hypothesis is verified. This has helped scientists understand that mutations might occur in living cells, making the universal genetic code degenerate. My second object is a graphing calculator that we use for DP mathematics. Mathematics is a database of accepted rules globally governing the methodology behind unspecified qualitative values to ascertain knowledge, making it quantitative. A graphing calculator is used to obtain objective answers that have a selected number of possible solutions that can be solved through arithmetic operations. The information obtained is objective since, before the calculator is presented to the public, it goes through many testing phases. In those testing phases, the problems observed are fixed through the calculator, making it factually correct. Calculators are designed to perform a number of arithmetic operations instantly after supplied input with the help of memory chips. With the help of the developments in technology, the graphing calculator used in the 21st century requires batteries in order to perform calculations. My last object is a tweet by Donald Trump, who was the 45th President of the United States of America. He was initially a television personality and businessman, after which he got into American politics. This tweet is posted on a social media platform that can only be accessed using technology. His tweet talks about the current issue prevailing worldwide: global warming. Global warming is caused by human activities that release greenhouse gases such as methane and carbon dioxide, resulting in the gradual rise of the heat of the Earth's surface. The tweet, on the other hand, is not based on facts and heavily relies on bias, making the tweet subjective instead of objective. Subjective information is information that contains bias that is influenced by an individual's personal opinions, preferences, or beliefs. This tweet is influenced by the biased acquisition of knowledge. With the use of a social media platform, Twitter, the tweet has been read and retweeted by millions of people across the world. This influences the reader's perspective as well. Therefore, objectivity helps make the resources available reliable. However, objectivity is based on past knowledge that we have gathered throughout the years that contains bias, concluding that the information obtained can be subjective depending on the knower's perspective.
My name is Frozen Baseen and I'm from DP1B. The TOK prompt I have selected is: in what ways does value affect the production of knowledge? This exhibition explores this prompt by reflecting on the correlation between the values and knowledge. Our values leave a significant impact on our knowledge. Values are embedded and inoculated in sync with our cultural affiliations. A certain set of values only come with a certain set of experiences. You acquire and earn them only by paying a price. All our values put together influence our production of knowledge. The portrayal of my knowledge and understanding is impacted by my religious beliefs and values. The way I keep my elders' expert opinions before mine is a representation of the impact of my values. It's justified and also a true belief that our core values can either expand our knowledge or constrain it. My religion encourages me to be extremely open-minded and acceptant in all aspects. It does not expect or direct me to see the world in a certain way, which contributes to my knowledge being far more efficient. I strongly believe that values act as a catalyst rather than an obstacle to widen our perspectives and knowledge. Object 1. Donald Trump's tweet. Donald Trump, 45th President of USA at the time of his presidency, tweeted, "I wish Muslims a very #Happy Diwali, as it's their special religious festival. I hope they stop spreading terror, #Stop Terrorism," elaborating on his hatred towards Muslims to his 70.9 million followers. This tweet came across on evidence on how values affect our thinking and actions. It's a judgment passed by many politicians on how Muslims are the reason behind the terror. Due to our technological advancements in social media, their opinions are widely delivered and accepted. People who lack intellectual humility tend to blindly believe it, and it affects their knowledge and how they process personalities. This is a communal reinforcement on our society, and now it's negatively impacting Muslims. I myself, belonging to a different religion than Islam, have been trained to consider Muslims as the face behind terrorism. The way I interact with them and channelize my energy towards them as a whole is somewhere greatly affected by these norms. At the end of the day, whenever we hear about a terrorist attack, it always goes down to them being the cause. That's not only because of the way our minds are manipulated and the values embedded in us. Object 2. Kalava. At the time when a Hindu religious work or puja is being performed, Kalava, a red thread, is tied to everyone. It's believed that by tying it in hand, you win over the enemy and it acts like your defense. At every puja conducted by Hindus, they tie a Kalava as evidence of them obliging to the promise they made at this time of puja. Knowing about the religious thread increased my knowledge and how religious practices can influence your opinions and self-knowledge. The values provided to me by wearing the kalwa has impacted the decisions I make and the way I process situations with my knowledge. Knowing various ways of adapting towards the different cultures and applying their ethics in my day-to-day life is something I try to incorporate more each day. Object 3. Sikh Expo. Sikh Expo is an Instagram account made on 9 July 2013 by a Sikh staying in United Kingdom. An account containing 410k followers with 5,213 posts published till date. The account aims to spread awareness amongst its followers, raising voices and accepting the developments of Sikhs. The account has posted various posts targeting the history of Sikhism and the significance of their beliefs, their accomplishments and the information about Gurdwaras. This account not only showed me the true side of the farmers and their pain, but also showed me how people from all over the world were standing by them and showing their support. The values provided relating to our unity amongst each other, which has connected me to this account, is the key for my extended knowledge of my religious beliefs. This account helps me increase my knowledge on how my community is practicing it, and it enriches me with ways I can practice it more often. My ability to comprehend and communicate with others with the help of my knowledge is gained by the information provided by my religion and mediums like social media accounts which talk about Sikhs as a community. Thank you.
My name is Gurjot Singh and I'm from DP1C, and the prompt I've taken is prompt 18, which is, are some things unknowable? Unknowable is something that we do not know with certainty. Unknowable things represent the limit of our human knowledge at a certain point in time. The IA prompt discusses that things such as knowledge, information and skills that are unknowable to other knowers. Some things are unknowable to us as we do not have enough information about it. Things can be unknowable according to maths and science, as there is no logical explanation to how certain things happen according to these fields. So it is unknowable to these fields but might be knowable to other fields. But not everything can be knowable to a certain field and unknowable to some other fields. There are some things that are completely unknowable that no one knows about, or no one knows how it works. An example of this can be dark matter and its origin. No one has ever seen dark matter or can prove of its existence, but scientists are positive that it exists, as there are some things that happen in the universe that cannot be explained according to our knowledge right now, which makes the scientists think that there is something else in the universe too that is causing this abnormal phenomenon, and they call it dark matter. We don't know anything about it, which makes it unknowable to us. Now my other three objects will also talk about how some things are unknowable to us. My first object is the black hole. I've taken this as my first object as I really like space and I like to learn and get to know more about the universe. The black hole is something that is unknowable to us. It is not known to us as it is a very dense object from which nothing can escape, because of which we cannot see it, as light cannot escape from it, which makes it hard to get pictures of the black hole as you require light to click pictures. In 2019, we had gotten the first ever picture of the black hole thanks to the Event Horizon Telescope. This has helped scientists increase their knowledge, but there is a lot that we do not know about it, which might remain unknowable to us because of how hard it is to get near the black hole. Black holes are extremely far away from us, which make it more difficult for us to inquire about it. The lack of information we have about it makes it unknowable to us. My second object were the Pyramids of Giza. The Egyptian civilization made one of the largest man-made structures, which were the Pyramids of Giza. The Pyramids of Giza are an amazing wonder of the world. I've taken this as my second object because as a kid I really liked the Egyptian civilization because of how advanced they were for their time compared to the other civilizations in that time period. It has always surprised me how a civilization which was 4,500 years old made one of the largest man-made structures. It was the tallest man-made structure for a very long time until the 19th century. Even with our current technology, we would not be able to make the pyramids of Giza as fast as the Egyptians did 4,500 years ago. Researchers still trying to figure out how the Egyptians built the pyramids. There are many theories. Some say they used a ramp system and some say it was aliens that helped the civilization make it. This would also explain why the civilization was so advanced for its time. But until we don't get any evidence of this, we might never know how the pyramids of Giza were built, and it will be unknowable to us. My third object is the Voynich Manuscript. The Voynich Manuscript is a book with out-of-the-world illustrations and written in a language that we still don't know and understand. The book has always fascinated me because of the mystery behind it, and the illustrations in the book are strange yet interesting to look at. Just constantly wondering what the person who wrote this was thinking about. The book was written almost 6 centuries ago. It is currently stored in the library at Yale University in a vault. It is the most mysterious book in the world. The reason it's mysterious is because of the elegant writing and drawings that no one understands. It's written in a language that has never been seen before. In 2018, an AI was given the task of decoding what was written in the book, but there was no success. Until we don't figure out what language it is written in or who it is written by, we will never know its true meaning, which makes it unknowable for us.
Hello, I am Adhiraj from DP1A, and the IA prompt that I've chosen is why do we seek knowledge? The main purpose of this IA prompt is to justify our attempts to collect knowledge and our desires to obtain new information. It makes us wonder about the purpose of gathering knowledge for ourselves and why we spend resources on obtaining new knowledge.
My first object is my gaming PC, which I built at the age of 13. Gaming computers are essentially desktop fitted with high-end components to improve video game performance. I bought compatible components and successfully assembled them together to create a perfectly functional gaming computer. And I did this with the help of information gathered from the internet and my peers. And I've been using the same computer on a daily basis since that day. When I first began playing video games, I used a standard laptop that was not equipped for gaming. And as a result, I faced several challenges such as lag, latency, and the game crashing. As a result, my performance was significantly affected and my experience was negatively impacted. This prompted me to look into computer hardware and to learn why games cannot be run by standard computers. I was inspired by my passion for playing video games to acquire knowledge about computers and how they're assembled, and this eventually led me to assembling my own computer. This allows me to answer why we're seeking knowledge, and in this case, in order to fulfill my own desire to play video games, I pursued knowledge. Last year, I designed and fabricated a wireless phone charger that is capable of utilizing solar energy. The product is advantageous because it is built to be incredibly easy to use, affordable, and safe for the future of our world. In order to fabricate it, I compiled information from multiple sources and applied it to the project since it had not been developed before. I researched printed circuit boards and solar panels and how they function. I applied the knowledge I gathered and successfully created what I had planned to create. The product was operational, indicating that the right knowledge had been gathered and applied by me. This illustrates how I have gathered knowledge to contribute to sustainability and meet the demands of my school, as well as to fulfill my own needs to learn about electronics. My third object is an anime series written by Sugumi Oba and illustrated by Takeshi Obata. The story follows two 9th graders who dream to become manga artists. The anime illustrates a manga writer's struggles before he's able to become a prominent manga writer. This encourages me, as someone who actively watches anime, to understand how much hard work has been put into the anime shows I watch. The two factors that drive them to gather knowledge are personal interest and to make income due to insufficient funds. They take part in various competitions in order to win the reward money and to prove that they're the best manga writers in Japan. However, to do this, they need to defeat the greatest manga authors around Japan. And they understand that they have a lot to learn as they're beaten by the other writers in the tournament. And this motivates them to explore knowledge of manga writing in order to fulfill their dreams.
In conclusion, obtaining knowledge allows us to choose our own future and helps us overcome obstacles that we may face in life. If we're able to successfully understand our world, we will be capable of making good use of its resources to improve our lives. Through knowledge, we're able to determine what is beneficial for us and what's detrimental to us. Hence, we're able to make sensible decisions about the world around us. In our competition-filled world, how much knowledge an individual possesses decides whether or not they succeed. As a consequence, the fierce competition to excel inspires many to gain as much knowledge as they can.
My name is Ansh and I'm a student at DBS International, and this is my TOK presentation. I chose TOK prompt 16, should some knowledge not be sought on ethical grounds for further exploration, with knowledge and knower as my theme. Knowledge that exists in the world for our consumption has to be produced in some manner, and generally a set of rules, personal values and morals govern ethical grounds on which a knower may produce knowledge. However, certain knowledge which does not hold value for knowers can be produced only unethically, and those cases are what I came to explore. My first object is an image by the Atomic Heritage Foundation, which depicts a much bigger complex called Unit 731. Unit 731 was an experimentation unit set up by the Imperial Japanese Empire during World War II by Shiro Eiji, under the pretext that it would be used for pandemic and water purification research. However, this was just a cover for what the Japanese were actually doing here. That is, they were conducting experiments on the local populace, made mostly of Chinese and Russian women. While some have brought up the idea of human experimentation as they believe that they would get the most accurate results from them, it is almost universally shunned because it goes against the Hippocratic Oath. Scientists have deferred to animals, which again is extremely controversial, however it holds some, albeit twisted, value. This object is relevant to the exhibition and by extension the IA prompt because, in a manner, the knowledge produced here held value for not only the Japanese but later other nations, including the United States, who bought this information in exchange for immunity for the scientists. However, does this knowledge really hold that much value when many people and animals have suffered because of it? Some individuals may defend these acts as they approach this from a utilitarian point of view, saying that this would have helped more people than it harmed. But does that make it okay? This debate is why this object finds its place in my exhibition. My second object is a Pokemon called Mewtwo. Mewtwo is a Pokemon from a popular Pokemon game series, a series that I've enjoyed playing and watching ever since I was a little kid. This Pokemon is special because, unlike other Pokemon, this Pokemon was made artificially in a laboratory as a clone of Mew, another Pokemon. Mewtwo is intriguing in the context of this exhibition because it discusses a fictional interpretation of a very controversial idea, cloning. When Keith Campbell and Ian Wilmot first cloned a sheep to produce Dolly the sheep, it sparked debates across the world, and one of the claims was that this was against the natural order of things or trespassing in God's domain and should not be further explored by humans. This concept has held a lot of value for scientists to further understand how organisms live and exist. This sparked controversy due to its implications in the pseudoscientific field of eugenics and how there might be a preference to birth humans with desirable genes, and to Pokemon's credit, they address this well. Eugenics is almost universally despised because Nazis support this idea and they systematically execute millions on the basis of it. The study of this concept clearly holds a lot of value. However, it does come with the ethical implications that the knower is dealing with the lives of other organisms and has control over what fate it meets, which is concerning for a lot of people. Again, this is an example of how some valuable knowledge can be produced unethically, and hence it finds its place in my exhibition. My final object is a cartoon by James Kildrew. James Kildrew was a British caricaturist who is famous for his edge political satire of the late 1700s and the early 1800s. The piece is a caricature of Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of France, following the events of the French Revolution. Napoleon, while being almost average height for the time, and was and still is ridiculed for being short and having a short temper. And this belief can be credited to Kildrew's body of work and around Napoleon Bonaparte. His work is relevant to the exhibition because he crosses ethical boundaries to produce knowledge undermining a public figure's power, which had an impact on the public perception of Napoleon for centuries to come, and arguably more importantly, had an impact on the person in question, as Napoleon himself admitted. While political satire isn't considered something beyond modern ethical boundaries, his reliance on ad hominem remarks would be considered unethical, or at least amoral. His work by modern standards produced earnest knowledge that had an impact on the individual's public perception for centuries, and hence this object is relevant to the exhibition. In conclusion, I've tried to display objects that deal with the production of valuable knowledge by resorting to unethical means, which is a point of debate no matter how a knower might dissect it. And hence, this was my presentation. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Kabir Bhatnagar from DP1B, and the IA prompt I have chosen is number 20. What is the relationship between personal experience and knowledge? I have decided to focus on this IA prompt to understand the dynamics of personal experience and how they are inextricably linked. This exhibition explores the IA prompt by reflecting on knowledge and the knower. We understand that knowledge and experience can be used or understood interchangeably. For example, I may have the knowledge of the English language, but I may not have the experience of writing a novel. Knowledge is essentially a way of acquiring information and ideas, and experience, on the other hand, is the application of knowledge and the acquisition of new experiences. My first object is the bomb machine. The bomb machine was developed by Alan Turing during World War II. It is an electromechanical device that was used to decode messages generated from the infamous Enigma machine, which was used by Germans to code all of their transmissions and messages. The bomb machine was inspired by a Polish device known as the Bomba. The bomb machine was designed to recognize the complicated settings used by the Enigma machine and essentially be able to decode them into simple English. The bomb machine is an accurate representation of how unfamiliarity can act as a barrier to knowledge due to the lack of personal experiences. In the hands of an amateur or an inexperienced person, the bomb machine may not be used to its full potential. And because of that, it may throw the inexperienced person in an alien situation. And since they do not know how to develop or decode a cipher, they will have to go through a learning process to do so. In order to decode cipher or even code a cipher of such complexity, one must possess skills of critical thinking, logical thinking, coupled with a deep understanding of how ciphers work. Without the necessary knowledge of ciphers, mathematics and algorithms, it would be simply impossible to create a machine of such complexity, decode ciphers of such complexity. And some keen-eyed people might be able to develop a cipher through acute observation, but most people require or would use other mediums or a set of instructions to do so. Following a set method or instruction reduces the needs of hands-on experience. Learning the intricacies of such a machine will take time, but that can be shortened through the use of instructions. Learning instructions also takes time, but it is much more easier and efficient and less time-consuming to use the knowledge of others when there isn't any personal experience to back you up. The bomb machine shows how not having a personal experience can act as a barrier, but it is still possible to overcome that barrier through a prescribed set of instructions and learning from the experiences of other people. Now, my second object is a graphics card, which is a core component of a computer system typically used to render, display images, or motion behaviors, process actions in various computing environments, which rely on imagery such as the display of medical photography, gaming, or even design. These graphics cards can be available with various processing power and the ability to render from high to low resolution images on my screen. My own experience of graphics cards come from my interest in gaming. These graphics cards enable how the game is experienced by the knowers. Initially, I did not understand how these worked, and as games progressively grew more complex and more advanced with functions and screen interactions, I realized that there was something wrong with my PC, and then I started to investigate and understood that my graphics card had fallen behind the specifications. This led me to do and conduct a lot more research and understand how PCs are generally built, and spend time in understanding the relationships between various components within the PC, the motherboard, the need for RAM and its usage, control processors, the availability of drive space, and memory usage. As I moved on and understood the information by reading and comparing various information in a PC, I was finally able to build my own PC to a set of specifications that suited my needs. This example shows while I did not possess direct knowledge of how the intricacies of a graphics card worked, I was able to conduct research and better build an understanding of a PC and eventually create something based on my personal experience and the supporting knowledge of components used. Now, my third and final object is a scientific calculator. A scientific calculator can compute and process advanced formulae than a simple calculator whose functions are extremely limited. My knowledge of a scientific calculator is limited as I have been using a simple calculator for quite some time. However, my personal experience of a normal calculator does allow me to use the advanced version to some degree. I chose this object to demonstrate the connection between direct knowledge and personal experience. I reflected that my knowledge of some of the scientific concepts or understanding is limited, that prevents me from applying it to the scientific calculator. Even though I understood some of the basic features of the calculator, I would still not be able to make best use of it, since I would not have gained an understanding and experience of how the scientific principles are used in the scientific calculator. So one must build knowledge and empirical understanding of the underlying scientific principles. Now, once that is established, the next step would be to simply apply that in a functional manner to the scientific calculator. The object itself has a set of principles to be able to be used, and once the personal and functional understanding is built, the knower can make the most of the scientific calculator. And with that, I would like to conclude my presentation.
Hello, I am Kritika Chugh from DP1B. The TOK prompt I have selected is what makes a good explanation. Explanation is the process of effectively being able to create a reason or a justification. For a good explanation, we require sources which contain evidence, examples, and data. The TOK prompt I have selected reflects the core theme of the knowledge and the knower, because knowledge is the map that the knower tries to unravel through good explanations. The three objects that I will be showcasing today will reflect the core theme and will show how it relates to the TOK prompt of what makes a good explanation. The first object I have selected is the NCERT science textbook, which is used in the CBSE curriculum in India. This textbook acts as a handbook for teachers to teach students, and it includes material which can be used for examinations. The textbook includes good examples, diagrams, activities, and experiments which allow the student to learn. This reflects the core theme of the knowledge and the knower, because the knower can acquire knowledge related to science, such as scientific concepts, through the use of this textbook. This textbook is used over a wide range of schools and is a credible source of information. This object is personal to me because for a CAS experience, I taught grades 7 and 8 several topics such as synthetic fibers, motion and time, and other science-related topics to them. And I used this book to create questions and to teach the material which is required for them to learn. The second object I have selected is an autobiography called I've Never Been Unhappier by Shaheen Bhatt. This autobiography includes experiences of the author Shaheen Bhatt while dealing with mental illnesses such as depression, anxiety, and problems related to weight gain during her childhood, teenage, and adulthood. She shares her experiences and talks about the facts and examples while dealing with depression. She talks about how she overcame depression and took help from experts. By having experiences and by sharing experiences, we can learn a lot about the world. I read this book last year, and that's why it's personal to me, because before reading the book, I was not aware about depression.
Now that I know some things about depression, why it happens, and other scientific information that Shahid Bhatt wrote in her book, I am able to relate with the society and other people. I am also able to use this knowledge in the subject I am studying in school, which is psychology. This book includes a lot of explanations on how depression can change a person's life. The third object I have selected is a popular YouTube channel called Crash Course. Crash Course includes videos on a variety of subjects. The videos include a lot of content, yet they're concise, crisp, and easy to understand. The videos are personal to me because I have used it in my school, and it has been used in my school, and I have used it to revise certain concepts in the subject economics and science. This object relates to the TOK prompt of what makes a good explanation, because videos are a great way to learn. These videos include animations, humor, information which is concise, examples, and evidence to make the videos more fun and interactive. The videos on Crash Course relate to the core theme of the knowledge and the knower, because the videos provide knowledge to the knowers who are learning videos, and the videos are used when students are finding the concepts difficult in school. To conclude, the three objects relate to the TOK prompt of what makes a good explanation.
Thank you.
With great power comes great responsibility, once said by a wise superhero, Spider-Man, and scientia est potentia, commonly known nowadays as knowledge is power. Both of these together can be deduced down to, with great knowledge comes great responsibility. Answering the prompt that I have chosen, does all knowledge impose ethical obligations on those who own it? Which is prompt 27. Hello. My name is Nandini Saluja and I am from DP1C. The optional theme I have chosen is knowledge and politics, to understand how people with influential power have an ethical obligation because of the knowledge they own, and the nature of their knowledge imposes an ethical obligation on them, whether to reveal or conceal it. I will be exploring how powerful people and companies misuse their power and knowledge in an unethical way. The first object I have chosen is a speech written by me on Churchill and the Coventry bombing. I wrote the speech in year 8 for a language and literature task, a debate, for the motion, sacrificing human lives in the favor of winning wars is unethical. The piece of knowledge that imposed an ethical obligation on Churchill was that Coventry would be bombed by the Germans. When I wrote that speech, I was against what Churchill did, to let Coventry bombed, to use it as an advantage. But now, after more thought went into it, Churchill was in a position of power, and neither side of the decision was 100% right or wrong. This placed Churchill in an ethical dilemma. He had to decide the value of a life in Coventry and the entire nation. He had the responsibility to make the right decision which would benefit everyone, but neither of the choices would do that. This piece of knowledge placed an ethical obligation on the knowledge bearer, but the course of action that should be taken is dictated by perspective. When I wrote that debate speech a few years ago, I didn't think of the other side of the argument, but now after further contemplation, I believe no course of action is ethically and logically correct, and placing the responsibility on a single person to make such an important decision is immoral and unethical. The second object I have chosen is a fake picture of the farmers' protest, projected by the media to discredit the farmers' protest. The role of media in a democracy is to empower and inform all members of society to make decisions. The media has an ethical obligation because of this role. There is always a debate in India about dissent and anti-nationalism, and how dissent towards the government is anti-national when it's not, because we live in a democracy. The media should convey truth because that's their responsibility towards citizens. Journalists and the media have an ethical obligation to convey the truth to the people. This image was retweeted by many people, and supporters of the farmers' protest turned against it. The 5 core principles of journalism include truth and accuracy, independence, and fairness and impartiality. The nature of this knowledge is false and irrelevant in this specific context. By using this image, an image not related to the farmers' protests, which will cast a bad light on the Indian farmers, the media deny their principles and ethical responsibility to not only the farmers but also the people of India, who use the media to learn about what's happening around the country. The knowledge bearer, the media, has an ethical obligation to reveal or conceal knowledge. But the nature of the knowledge influences what course of action must be taken and who it affects. The media is in a position of power to transmit knowledge to people and influence their opinions on politics and other issues, so they have the correct information to make informed choices. But when the media misuses their power to spread misinformation, they are denying their ethical responsibility. The third object I have chosen is an opinion editorial by ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil knew 30 years ago, before anyone else did, that climate change has begun because of human activity, as they were an oil company. They decided to withhold this information from the public in order to profit from their oil sales. They decided to instead spread misinformation about the scientific uncertainty around climate change, despite their own scientists proving how bad climate change will get because of the continued burning of fossil fuels. This piece of knowledge, which Exxon knew many years ago, imposed an ethical obligation on them to stop the current climate catastrophe to happen, or at least be on a better path. However, they decided to take the unethical path by firstly not revealing the research when it was first found, and secondly trying to spread misinformation in order to increase their profits and use this knowledge in their favor. This affects people, and especially the youth like me, all around the world, as it is up to us to now fix the wrongs of the previous generations. To conclude, knowledge does impose ethical obligations on those who own it, and as explored through my objects, the course of action taken is dependent on the situation. Sometimes it is absolutely wrong, and other times neither action can be considered morally right or wrong. As knowledge bearers, it is their ethical responsibility to either reveal or conceal the information, and not spread misinformation.
On behalf of the management, pedagogical leadership team,